Okay, this video is about the very end of chapter 1 about economic models. Now, economic models are going to be ways that we simplify reality. So economic models simplify reality, and they also make assumptions. Now, the economic model that we are looking at with chapter 1 is we are going to be looking at the economic model called the production possibilities curve. Otherwise known as the PPC. Okay, so the production possibilities curve is where we are simplifying reality. We are looking at only two things that can be produced. Because if you think about it, in reality, we have tons and tons and tons of things that can be possibly produced. The production possibility curve just looks at two items that could potentially be produced. So we're looking at two items, and we are going to make some assumptions about those two items. So we are going to assume the two items we're going to be making are two items that use different resources. So in class, what I had the class do was that I looked at two things that could be produced. The first thing that could be produced was we did jumping jacks. So we did as many jumping jacks as we could do in 1 minute. So the entire class was standing up and doing jumping jacks. So I'll use some numbers from a class that already did this. So one class did 1,348 jumping jacks in 1 minute. Okay, I think there was about 24 people in the class. Doesn't matter. Okay, so after we did jumping jacks for 1 minute, jumping jacks are very physical. Okay, so again, like I said, is that the production possibilities curve assumes we are looking at two things that are using different resources. So jumping jacks are very physical. The opposite of physical is mental. So the other thing that I had them produce for 1 minute was math facts. And so they had to do as many multiplication math facts as they could in 1 minute. So for example, they wrote out 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8, and so on and so on. So they had to write out the answer as many times as they could. They had to write out the multiplication with the answer as many times as they could. So in 1 minute, I had this particular class wrote out 212 multiplication math facts in 1 minute. Now, the third minute, what I did was I split them in half. And so I had half the class doing jumping jacks and half the class doing math facts, approximately. So when I didn't have them do half and half, I had them do 961 jumping jacks and 135 math facts. So that was their totals. Now, what we do with this is that for the production possibilities curve, this is actually a curve. It's actually a graph. So what we're going to do is we're going to graph this. So well, it doesn't really matter where you put the math facts and where you put the jumping jacks. We'll put the math over there, we'll put the jacks down here, and we're going to graph it, so I'm going to go across and I'm going to say, I'm going to go by 500s, nope, I'm going to go to, yeah, I'll do by 500s on bottom, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. Okay, and up the side, I'll go by 50s. Okay, so now we're going to plot this. So the first minute we did jumping jacks in class, we had everybody doing jumping jacks. So we actually did 1,348 jumping jacks, but no one was sitting down doing math facts. So I'm going to put 1,348 jumping jacks and 0 math facts, and we'll say that that's approximately here. Okay? Then the second minute, we had everybody doing math facts. And so we had everybody sitting down doing math facts. And so we did 212 math facts, but 0 jumping jacks. So we're going to put 212 math facts and 0 jumping jacks somewhere about here. Doesn't have to be that precise. Then the third minute, we did a combination. So we did 961 jumping jacks and 135 math facts. So we're going to say that that's somewhere about here. Now we're going to connect our dots. Now remember I said that we are making assumptions. Here's an assumption, okay? The assumption we're making, remember economic models deal with assumptions. The assumption we're making with the production possibilities curve in this class was that everyone in this class was working as hard as they possibly could. There was no way I could squeeze one more jumping jack or math fact out of them. Now I'm going to tell you right now a little secret. That's not true. I had plenty of people that were, doing half jumping jacks and not doing very fast and all that other stuff. That's okay, all right? But the assumption is that we are working as hard as we possibly can. Now, economic models, like I said, they are simplifying reality, so we're actually only looking at two things to produce. They are looking at assumptions, okay, so we are assuming that there are two items that are using different resources, and we are assuming that everybody is working as hard as we could. Now, if we are making those assumptions, there are 5 things we can tell by using the production possibilities curve. The first thing that we can tell is, first of all, we can tell where our fullest potential is. So our fullest potential is anywhere on the actual curve, on the line. So anywhere on this red line right here, okay, so anywhere on this red line, we could actually say is our fullest potential, because we were working as hard as we could. There's no way to get a single math factor jumping jack out of you. So it doesn't matter if I'm talking about here, here, or here, they're all your fullest potential. The second thing that we can determine from our production possibilities curve is we can determine what we call idle resources. And this is going to be anything inside the curve. Okay? So, for example, right here, could I produce at point Q? Could I produce that many combination of math facts and jumping jacks? Yes. How do I do that? All I have to do is slack off. I can have people that are not working as hard as they can. Remember, the red line is them working as hard as they can. So anything inside the curve is what we call idle resources. You can think of idle as meaning that they're there, the resources that are there, okay, but they're just not working very hard. Think of it as when your car is idling. Okay, when your car is idling, your car is running, it's there, it's running, it's working, it's just not going anywhere. Okay, same thing here. We have idle resources at Q, we have people there that we have available, but they're just not working as hard as they could potentially work. Okay, all right, third thing that we can determine our trade-offs. Now, if you remember, trade-offs are our options, our alternatives, okay? These are our options for where we can produce, okay? So, all of the possible options, all the possible combinations of math facts and jumping jacks are going to be anything inside the curve and on the line. Okay, so anything inside the curve or on the line is all possible options. So this would be, for example, anything with, for example, Q, A, B, C. Those are all possible combinations of jumping jacks and math facts that I could produce. Okay, so those are all possible. Now, once we make a choice, however, we can also talk about opportunity cost. Okay, so let's say, for example, I chose B, okay, and I want to have that combination of jumping jacks and math facts. And then for whatever reason, I decide that I am going to, I want some more jumping jacks. Okay, so I move from point B down to point C. Or maybe I can put some more dots on here, and I can have Z, I can have T, doesn't matter. Okay. But I'm moving down the curve, and let's say I go from B to Z, okay? Opportunity cost, remember, is what do I give up, okay? What is your second choice? What do you miss out on? Okay, so this is going to be when you're moving from point to point. For example, if I'm moving from B to Z, okay, I get more jumping jacks, but what do I miss out on? What do I lose? I miss some math facts. So my opportunity cost is missing some math facts. So you can see this by moving from point to point on the curve. All right, last thing that you can tell by using the production possibilities curve, what about if I point a point out here and I label this S? Can I get to S? Our answer is no, because remember, the red line is our fullest potential. You are working as hard as you possibly could. There is no way you can get a single more jumping jack or math fact out of you. So if that's true, there is no way you can get to point S. The only way you can get to point S is if you have what we call economic growth. So economic growth means that we have something change. We have an addition of resources. For example, if I had 24 people in this class that I got this data from, and I brought in 5 more people, well, yeah, then I would be able to produce more jumping jacks and math facts. Or, for example, if I did a little bit more specialization and I looked at exactly who were the people that were really good at math and make all those people do math facts, or who were the people that were really good at jumping jacks and make them do jumping jacks. Or if I gave them a bigger incentive to do more, okay? Those are going to be things that cause economic growth. So economic growth, not possible. Outside the curve is not possible without economic growth. Okay, so keep in mind that the production possibilities curve does not place value judgments on anything. So we're not saying that A is better than B or C is better than B, whatever. Where you want to be is on the line, because that's where our resources are working to their fullest potential. Which part on the line, which point on the line, depends upon what you're more interested in. Okay, but you want to be on the line because that's using your resources to their fullest potential. Okay, that's an explanation of production possibilities curve. Hopefully you remember that it is an example of an economic model because it simplifies reality down to 2 things that could be produced. It makes assumptions that we are looking at 2 things that are going to be using different resources, and it is assuming that all of our resources were working as hard as they possibly could. Okay? As a result, we can determine on the production possibilities curve where our fullest potential is, where we have idle resources not working as hard as they possibly could, where we have trade-offs, what our options are, what our opportunity cost is, what is the cost of giving up something or going from one point to another, and lastly, where we can't reach without economic growth or adding additional resources. Okay, hopefully this all makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know.